And to bring you up to speed as regards several issues and happenings in our newspapers, our dailies, just to let you know what's going on in Nigeria, in the country, in the continent, and in the world. Basically, a lot of things happening, repercussions and consequences of several things happening in the world, the Israel-Iran war, and even U.S. attacking key nuclear sites in Iran, and also in response attack for Iran attacking the U.S. bases in Qatar and Iraq, and all of those things with several consequences. You might say, well, it's not happening here, but we could link the war to crude oil price and all of that, which producing countries, oil producing states should be definitely be enjoying. But unfortunately for Nigeria, well, we know how it is. And for those that are buying fuel now, you know how much you buy fuel. Now we have an upward review of price. Price hike now in different retail outlets of NNPCL. With now you're buying at 915 naira, between 915 naira and 945 naira. An increase in PMS price dollars. You ask so many questions, but let's just leave it at that. We'll definitely go into the nitty-gritty of all the stories this morning, just to give you updates and details of the stories as we unfold them. We enjoy an audio-visual one. You want to get to see what's happening in the studio, just go to Facebook or YouTube at Mela 98.3 FM. Also, Radio Garden is very much available for you to also get to listen to trends in the papers, and also our website is very much accessible and easy to use. Just go online and search www.melanfm.com, and then you get to listen to us this morning. We'll be joined by Side Forward as always to be giving a perspective to the table, the dailies, just to flip through and peruse the pages of our news. To quickly connect with Side Forward, let's see. Okay. All right, Side Forward. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing as well?
I'm very good. Very, very good.
Oh, very, very good. All right. We don't have
my own, what's it called? Message to everybody to be good. Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. Find a way to make sure you're okay.
Not all rosy, but we're good.
You choose either you want to be good or not, but all
you
is
just
well.
have to be good.
Right.
Just make sure you're good.
Well, that definitely has a deep definition. But for what, without further ado, a lot is happening. Side Forward. The outside, both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. But as the show goes on, we definitely dissect them and holistically look at the issues happening. From the Punch newspaper, let me start from the Punch newspaper. We have quite some time now. You see the front newspaper, the front page of the Punch newspaper has been credited to the commissioning of some key projects in the FCT. And so we have that again on the front page of the Punch this morning, welcoming President Tinubu to commission road linking Idu with Zuba Road today in Abuja. Away from that, quickly, we are regulation. And talking about that quickly, let me just find that very story from the Punch to give details to that story. Okay. All right. Nigeria's and expressed fears and projected opportunities as some states assumed responsibilities for regulating electricity markets within their various domains. And this is following the recent revelation by the Nigerian electricity regulator Enugu, Ondo, Ekiti, Imo, Oyo, Edo, and Kogi, and other states like Ogun, Lagos, Niger, and Plateau are also expected to complete their transitions between June and September. Anambra, also having recently passed its electricity law, is also gearing up, brazen up to join the list. And before the Electricity Regulatory Commission, the only agency regulating electricity in Nigeria, however, the decentralization of the sector by the Act has now given states the authority, to control and regulate electricity within their domains, granting them the freedom to generate, transmit the states have been given the license, to generate and to distribute power, in several states. Now we're getting reports that 7 states are taking charge. Also, Lagos, Ogun is also brazen up. Niger and Plateau also brazen up, or expected to also complete their transitions. We talked about investment. I remember when we had this conversation about the state having license to generate, regulate, and distribute power. A state going to get investors in each state to also invest in this power. But Fuad, what's your reaction to this development, first of all? Hello. Oh, mine. All right. We'll try to get back to Said Fuad this morning, and then trends in the papers will continue. Please stay with me. Hello, Said Ford, are you there?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay.
Sorry,
I think it went off, and we are back now.
Yeah,
all right. So what's your reaction to the recent development on the states having been given license to
when I say freedom now, it's not clear yet, and I don't think we are close to getting to a point where we're able to completely resolve all our issues when it comes to electricity generation, transmission, and distribution. If you read the story very, very well, what it is saying is that, look, we have a number of states who are now gradually taking charge of electricity distribution in their state. And so what has happened is that, look, when a state comes up with a subsidiary company that now transforms into what is approved to operate within the state, we've always asked the question about this transition. How do the states take charge of electricity? Because again, these are guys who have licenses to operate in this state. So there's been a bit of clarity to that. And what the story said is that, look, for example, if a state decides to take charge, as been permitted by the Electricity Act, then the distribution company working in that state will create a subsidiary that would now start to operate within the state. It's a bit tacky, if you ask me. Still a lot of questions to ask. There's going to be any improvement really in the generation and transmission as well as distribution of electricity to Nigeria. There's also the question of affordability, because people are saying that, look, as we think, I think only about 11 states that have been able to do anything to start to become more involved.
Yes,
in the entire. Yeah, the states are listed. I'm sure you have the states.
Yeah,
and help you with the states. The states are listed in the story. I don't know if you have them.
Yes, I have them. We have, so far, 11 states have actually commenced the transition process, with 7 states, including... Yes.
Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now, the transitioning is only on the distribution. Because, again, the act in itself gives the power to generate transitions are still in the area of distribution. We need to ask ourselves, can these states generate, can they transmit and eventually distribute? Do they have the capacity, the funding, the technical know-how, the structure, to run this particular, where we get the state more involved? So, like I said, it's still not completely clear as to what the states will be able to do with the powers that they now have to generate, transmit, and distribute their own electricity, or not do it. They just want power. They want it to be available, and they want it to be affordable. There's also the question of subsidy. Because if the federal government is still telling us that whatever Nigerians are paying on electricity is heavily subsidized, would the states be ready to take the burden, reflective tariff? So I think that we are still merely scratching the surface. There's really nothing to celebrate for now. The commitment is still not clear as to how to make electricity more affordable and available to Nigeria.
Well, because even if manage their, power markets, some industry experts also saying that development had created opportunities with, challenges. But let's see how far this goes. Like you mentioned, it's just the beginning. I mean, of the commitment to power supply and energy. Let's move to the oil sector. For those that buy fuel, you see that we already have an upward or price hike recently. Abuja, Lagos, for those who raise their prices. Now, retail outlets under the NNPCL expected an upward adjustment in the pump price of the PMS, also known as petrol, to 945 naira per litre in the Federal Capital Shift in the downstream retail market. And the latest increase marks a fresh spike of about 45 naira and 35 naira in Lagos and Abuja, respectively, all from the previous prices of 870 naira that we buy PMS, and also 910 naira that we buy per litre. And also, the independent marketers effected an increase in naira to 950 naira, depending the station of the independent oil dealer. Fᴜʟᴏ, you recently, I think yesterday, you still spoke about the consequences of we still buying. That if care is not taken, it's probably we still get to buy fuel at over 1,000 naira due to several factors. Actually, we had the link between in the crude oil price. There's shortage. I have to go out to source for that, and definitely automatically pump price will definitely increase. Fᴜʟᴏ, how deep are we into this?
At least thank God that the man that we are taught to escalate the whole thing is already telling us that there's now peace. How far shelling and throwing of missiles and bombs at one another.
Who said there's peace? Donald Trump.
Well, he has said there's peace.
He said
Israel and Iran.
Yeah, it's not the first time we
both
say.
Agreed.
Earlier, he mentioned that.
Ceasefire.
Earlier, he mentioned that his intervention was in vain. So.
Well, he has announced. He keeps. I don't know whether to call it tweet. He has his own social media handle called Truth or something. And in that platform, he has announced again that Israel and Iran have both agreed to a complete. Nobody would eventually win. It's just going to be causing needless destruction of lives and property going up. So that's just about 10%, 2% rise in the last session. So prices have suddenly gone up. Price of PMS has gone up by over 10%. I think there might be other considerations that we have not been told about. If you understand what I'm saying, it's looking as if there are other considerations. Buying at over 900 naira per litre. In Lagos, maybe 915. In other parts of the country, it's already around 945 naira, 50 naira per litre. So if you ask me, those reasons we don't know for now. All we know is that prices have been adjusted upwards again by NNPC, by Dangote, and other marketers who sell these products to Nigerians. So it's just our reality. We'll bring it down. We're still waiting for him to bring it down.
Said Fua, let me link it up with this. You mentioned about Trump saying that Israel and Iran agreed to ceasefire, and Vanguard also reported that this morning. U.S. President Donald Trump announced that Iran and Israel had agreed to staggered ceasefire beginning at approximately 0400 GMT on Tuesday, that's today, that will bring about an official end to the 12-day conflict. Well, earlier, U.S. attacked Iran, and Iran in response also attacked his bases. Recall that even the U.S. also wants citizens to stay away from FCD Abuja. Citizens, Americans can definitely visit that. That's not an issue. But that's on one side. And you earlier mentioned that, well, that factor, maybe the war factor, is not really like a big deal to the effect that these have on our oil price. And also, I want to link it up with the recent report as well that came out about the allegations and arrest of ex-NNPCL boss, alleging $7.2 billion fraud. And definitely that has birthed several questions. Even officials of the NNPCL, Warri, Port Harcourt refineries were also accused of the alleged fraud, so to say. Don't you also see this as a factor as well in why we are not getting stability in our oil sector over the years?
Okay, let's first address the situation in the Middle East the involvement of the U.S. Like I just told you, President Donald Trump of the U.S. have announced that Israel and Iran have agreed to a complete in that part of the world. For people who don't know, the worst that we had prayed that would never happen, begin to see people throwing bombs and weapons at one another. I've had to speak with scholars and experts when it comes to international relations and international diplomacy. And I think there seems to be a consensus, maybe more, that look, the world survived World War I. The world survived World War II. And the world will never survive World War III. And I'll tell you why.
Why, please?
Because it's going to be total destruction. Look, World War I was really done with guns and grenades and a bit of, just a bit of weapons that could make some very serious damages to people and territory. Like I said, maybe that was the period where grenades were produced. So the world survived that entire conflict, that crisis. World War II came, and we got to the point where technology produced a nuclear warming bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki still being felt. The radiation, as we speak, in those two cities are still being felt. The things that nations of the world have now, atomic bomb is a complete joke to what people have been able to build as nuclear warhead. If you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's a singular narration. Everybody sees Iran as a problem. Oh, Iran must not have a nuclear weapon. Iran must not have a nuclear weapon. These other nations that are saying Iran should not have a nuclear weapon, who is checking what they have? And who says that they cannot use it against other nations? If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the fear of nuclear, to ensure that, look, because they have discovered that, look, with the availability of this technology among different nations of the world, we will get to a point where, Lɪධᴇ, there will be one crazy leader who is going to start a war somewhere that will drag every other part of the world if that starts. And that's why I told Sage yesterday that, look, if there was, again, we are afraid that everybody should not have a nuclear weapon. But if everybody has a nuclear weapon, maybe people will not be attacking one another. Everybody will respect himself.
Right.
I told Sage yesterday, there are countries the U.S. will never attack. And they too will never attack the U.S. They can fight, but when it comes to physical attack, they will never do it to themselves. Look, why did the U.S. not invade Russia or attack Russia when it invaded Ukraine? And next Crimea and other parts of Ukraine. Why? Why do you think the U.S. just say they were only just talking and supporting Ukraine with weapons? Why did they
not fire attack?
Because there's a balance of power. Russia is a nuclear power. If you understand what I'm saying. As the U.S. has their own nuclear weapons, Russia self gets.
Right.
If you understand. And that was what Barrister Curtis was explaining on Sunday on Political Roundtable, that one of the things the Ukrainians will be regretting today was the giving up of their nuclear weapons and nuclear arsenal after the balkanization and the fall of the Soviet Union. At the fall of the Soviet Union, Ukraine emerged as a nuclear power, but somehow treated it. Do you understand what I'm saying now?
Yes, very much.
Do you think that if Ukraine had nuclear weapons as a nuclear power, Russia would dare attack it? They are superhuman beings. That there's no global balance of power. Look at Pakistan and India, for example. They had a conflict recently. And you could see that they were only throwing missiles at each other, but they quickly stopped. In fact, President Trump had to warn the two of them that you should stop the nonsense you are doing, because those are two nations with nuclear weapons. So everybody, you see that they respect themselves. They are not truly the best of friends. Total destruction. So, and for people who are so myopic to think that, look, the Israel-Iran, Gaza thing is about religion, I think people should go and read their history very well. And you see, when I see some people who ascribe Israelis to Christianity, and so become unnecessarily sentimental about it, I just laugh. These are issues that are not even related to any religion.
All right.
It's about the control of territories and the desire to get more land. And you know the funny thing about people who say, in their villages, if you take one plot of land from them, they will scatter everywhere. Those people arguing and supporting nonsense. Go to their own hometown and say, oh, from this town, we want to collect 1 acre. You understand? So we're just hoping that, look, we'll produce more responsible leaders in the world.
Right.
Who will be able to find real peace, long-lasting peace to this Middle East conflict. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's not as easy as people assume. That I just told you, and that's my prediction, and I think a lot of leaders of thought globally understand that, look, if unfortunately there's a crisis anywhere in the world that throws the entire world into a World War III, I don't think the world will survive it.
We just hope that.
Too sentimental.
Right.
The man that promised to people that he would never start any other war anywhere in the world has escalated the whole thing. In fact, there are more wars under him than when he got into power. So it's just to say, people will never reason the way they are supposed to reason because of, what you call very funny sentiment. You understand what I'm saying?
Well,
how does this sound?
Made me remember. Made me remember the debates between Trump before the election and his rival Kamala, and then what she spoke about, about this issue that someone that
this man will start more wars.
The Americans have decided, or if you choose Trump, then you are decided to pick with the Punch newspaper. Okay, so I spoke about the ex-NNPC boss, but because our time is fast spent, the PDP. Also, back in the news, the Punch captures on factions over the National Secretary position and the party's upcoming 100th National Executive Council, that's the NEC meeting, are expected to dominate discussion. Coalition's acting secretary, Haliru Aminu, which was exclusively obtained by the Punch. The meeting is scheduled to hold today at 2 p.m. in the Electoral Body's conference hall. And this is as reliable multiples, along with other party leaders, would work to resolve the controversy surrounding the letter concerning even 2015 defeat had been in the presidential poll, had been struggling with internal crisis.
I don't know how they are going to wriggle out of this crisis, because as it is, it's just from one problem to another problem. The National Executive Council meeting. And it will be the 100.
The 100, yes, 100.
Or 100 of the meeting. And INEC had written back to them to say that, look, you can't tell us you want to have a meeting. And the secretaryship position of the party is still in contention. There's still a lot of problems as to who is the authentic secretary of the party. While Anyan is on one side, Ude Okoye is on another side. An anti-national secretary has been appointed, I think, Cᴏᴍᴍᴜ. And if you look at one of the stories I think we have on the list, you will see that even when I left the place, you don't go enter. Go and be secretary to yourself alone. Because they are saying maybe the PDP will survive this crisis eventually. How?
You don't know.
When? It's what I don't know, because it's man-made, you ask me.
Right.
Self-inflicted.
Right.
Because there are people who have their own ambition and intentions of ensuring the PDP remains perpetually in this crisis. PDP knows no peace for their own personal ambitions and interests.
But yeah, that's sure that towards 2027, that PDP will get it together, and then.
Who said that?
Wike now.
Wike is saying what? Okay, let's move to others.
Still with the People's Democratic Party. All right, that's on page 2 in the Punch. Still with the PDP. I just want to take these stories together so that we don't take them in isolation. Still with the PDP. Now, PDP chiefs dismiss the ADA coalition as weak attempt to oust Tinubu. The former deputy national chairman of the nation and the proposed All Democratic Alliance, ADA, as a poorly structured and unrealistic move to unseat President Bola Tinubu in 2027. However, the former political advisor to the president, Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed, described the leading figures for the coalition as the same hold political actors unfit, to pose any challenge against Tinubu's All Progressives Congress. Of course, people also have been talking about the credibility of any coalition, okay, this is not even alliance now, a coalition that is coming up to defeat Tinubu in 2027. Now, that's on one side. Ambition for further role. I mean, he said that the flag bearer of the PDP during the 2023 elections, Atiku Abubakar, to quit contesting for the presidency. And Atiku had actually been on this for a very long time, since 1993, I guess, Said Fuad. And he's saying that just leave the contesting, just be like the godfather, and you can support whoever you want to support with. On Arise TV, and he spoke about, I mean, it was like an outburst against President Tinubu, saying that Tinubu can't win 2027, that he would even be lucky to come third. He said a whole lot of things. Because of our time, I would have, brought the, we'll definitely talk about what he said. And he said a whole lot of things, talking about the percentage disapproval in the country, that over 91% disapproval in the north, even in the southwest, he's having like 78% disapproval and all of that. He said he's going to be lucky.
You help me recap again as I go along with
okay. Yes, I will.
You bought too many things at the same time, but we'll try to deal with it. The first is the PDP chieftains who are saying the ADA coalition arrangement was a weak arrangement. You see, these are people that should be bothered about the fate of their party, who are admitting to their own problem. And they've left that, with all due respect to Chief Bode George, it's our father here in Lagos, and so I'm just saying that they should not be too bothered about that ADA that is yet to even be registered as a political party. They should concentrate on their own party. If you understand what I'm saying. Because, you see, these statements are thrown around, and it's of no real political value, if you ask me. Because they are leaders of a party that is in complete chaos and crisis. In fact, if the PDP is not careful, that party may go into extinction or exist for just existing sake. I do not think that leaders of the party who are not yet able to come up with an idea of how to resolve their own crisis are suddenly so bothered. In fact, if Chibodi is not careful, he will suddenly find himself in the ADA too, eventually. If the party is registered. Because I can assure you that a lot of the people who will join the ADA are going to be the campaigns from the PDP. Those who have not joined the APC will eventually go there. If the party is registered, we don't know, because if you take what El-Rufai was saying, I'm going to get to that. Let me talk about Baba Ahmed. That's Baba Ahmed. Sorry, Baba
Ahmed.
Baba
Ahmed. Yes.
Baba Ahmed.
Yes.
You see, when politicians speak today, Baba Ahmed, when they speak today,
yes.
But I'm always careful now when politicians make statements like this. Because you have to look at the intentions behind the statement. What are they trying to frame? What perception are they trying to create? You cannot trust anybody again now in the political space, especially with what people like Daniel Bwala and co have done. When we are taught that they were really serious, only for them to now begin to support the things they are spoken against in the past. So for people like Baba Ahmed who are saying Atiku is man, it leave Atiku alone. Atiku is a Nigerian who has a right to continue to decide whether they want him or not. Because there are all these old people. Okay, who are the new people that Baba Ahmed has brought to the table? If you suggest the new people he's talking about. Because if he's talking about, if we talk about Peter Obi is also part of the old order.
Right.
And Peter Obi still also has the right legally to they want to set the agenda for the people. Who are they there? What is even their record to begin to tell the people who should contest and not to contest and who they should leave Nigerians to decide. Nigerians are not dumb. These are people who have also found themselves in the corridors of power.
Maybe he's saying,
and they're not the ones telling everybody what to do and not to do.
Aside for maybe he's saying to the fact that if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, maybe you try something else. Maybe just to try and look at your indices.
It's not for them to tell Nigerians what to try, not to try.
No,
we are not dumb. We are not stupid. Because they have access to the media and they've held some positions that we don't even know what the impact has been. Since they've been there, they just continue to throw statements around and continue to distract the people. Whereas we are supposed to concentrate on real issues, whether we like it or not. The options will be from these guys at the end of the day. From what the APC is doing now. What are the options? On subsidy removal, what do they want to do? On the poverty in the land, what do they want to do? On food security, what do they want to do? They are coming to tell somebody not to contest. And everybody contests, but let us listen to what they are saying, what they are promising the people.
All right.
Not to begin to set, we see some of these things are deliberate. If you understand what I'm saying. Then on the Jᴏɪᴜ interview, he said a whole lot of things.
A whole lot.
He's also a politician. So a lot of those things, for me, I regard as political statements. But some of them could be factual. It all depends on what will happen in 2027, to some extent that if a poll is conducted truly, I don't think the president has the best of approval ratings among ordinary Nigerians. But if you agree with me again too, Ledimo, that is not enough reason for him not to win in 2027. Approval rating about electoral reform. Because it's not about the approval rating. With this level of poverty, poverty of the pocket and poverty of the mind, I've not talked about his party, the ADA. Talked about the ADA where he said that, look, everything is still left open. So while they are looking at the option of using a new platform, they are not also ruling out the option of using existing platform. So this now have not been, they have not been infiltrated. He talked about the fact that, look, the ruling party is good and putting virtually, speaking out his mind as a politician. But I would advise Nigerians to keep their eyes on the ball.
27.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we don't know whether Atiku will be on the ballot. El-Rufai, Obi, Rotimi Amechi, we don't know, but it's going to be among this set of people. What we should do is to listen carefully to their policy statements and probe
as well. The front page of The Guardian. Away from that, just quickly, of course, he spoke about a lot of things. Just because of our time, we'll not be able to dwell into that. But it was quite somewhat obvious that he was still pained about the issues between himself and Tinubu and what really transpired after the 2023 elections. Away from that, The Guardian also talked about insecurity. Tinubu urged to investigate alleged complicity of security chiefs. Now, during a press briefing, the bishop, Right Reverend Samuel Obiajulu-Ike from Anglican Communion, the Bishop of Enugu Diocese, had called on President Bola Tinubu to investigate the alleged complicity and collusion of security and intelligence chiefs with terrorists and bandits in Nigeria, and insisting that such actions as fueled insurgency. And also he added that unraveling the truth behind the rumors would help to end the current insecurity situation and remove Nigeria's name from the global terrorism index. Just to take that with it as well, about security, the NSA and CDS are saying that hunger and poverty are now security threats, saying that Tinubu confronting challenges with agri reforms and social investments and others. And also, as earlier, yes, we had report that the president distributed 2,000 tractors to state to also boost agriculture. So the NSA, National Security Advisor Malam Nuhu Ribadu, and the disintegration in the country. And according to them, they said the two challenges now constitute security threats to the country. Just quickly, side five.
Hunger
and poverty
are the major security threats in the country. So how did we get, or what has aggravated it to this level? You know their policies, and now that they say they are distributing tractors, so who are the people that will use the tractors? The tractors will run by itself.
Farmers. Farmers now in several.
When they give the tractors will just be plowing. It will be working by itself. There won't be people handling the tractor. Those are the people that are being killed. And he is saying that hunger and poverty, so he now understands that there's serious hunger and poverty in the land. Because the more people are hungry and are poor, the more the tendency they slide towards crime and criminality. So when we were saying that, look, Ledimo.
Yeah, I can hear you. Quickly.
You took out subsidy. Abi, you floated the naira. You started aggressive revenue drive, taxing everybody, import duty, and escalated the poverty in the land. In the name of, there's some people who were stealing money, we cannot continue to pay subsidy. So in solving one or two problems, you created multiple problems. And here we are. The NSA is telling us that poverty and what have you is the reason why they're saying security. Okay, so what do we do about that? So they are now sharing tractors. Okay, sharing tractors to who and who? The farmers who will not be able to use them in the farms. when Nigerians are currently buying at 200 naira per liter. So they didn't know that what they were doing was to escalate and increase poverty in the land that would eventually lead to this level of insecurity we have in the country.
Said Fuad, our time is fast spent, really. I sincerely wish we could get this conversation going, but because of our time, we have to step aside for commercials. Thank you very much.
So he just knows that the poverty is the reason why there's so much insecurity. He just knows that. And they are now sharing tractor.
All is well. Quite unfortunate sometimes when step aside for commercials. We'll be back for Mail and Focus, Mail and 98.3 FM. Please stay locked.